Hi, this is John, 3D Focus TV. I'm here at Wimbledon. It's March 22nd. And the reason I'm here at Wimbledon is because we're going to have a behind-the-scenes look of a cinema advert for Wimbledon 3D. Now, I think I said on their website that Wimbledon, for the very first time this year, will be produced in 3D by Sony and also 3D production company Can Communicate. And unfortunately, it won't be screened in 3D on TV in this country. It possibly will be shown in other countries in live 3D. However, it will be shown in some cinemas. And today, they are producing an advert for the theatre distribution. So let's have a look. We're going to have a really good behind-the-scenes look of how a 3D advert is produced. There's quite a few people. There's 2 crews, so each crew is located at a different location. And I'm going to hopefully get a few interviews with some people like the key stereographers, and hopefully just get a few words if they're not too busy. So let's have a look. Quite a quick shot from outside the gate. One thing I did notice is that they use anaglyph glasses while working out the stereo effect when they're monitoring it, and we're off now to film some trophies in 3D while we've got the time. So let's go.
Foreground and the cut behind, because I've got problems with reflection in the cuts. The further it is away from us, the better it is.
This is Jason Coles from Can Communicate, the 3D production company who are producing this Wimbledon 3D promo. What's the schedule today? Is there a lot of pressure on, and can you foresee any problems in today's shoot?
Well, hopefully it'll go smoothly. We've scheduled it well. We've pretty much just got the data to get everything that we want in. So it's going to be a case of really trying to cram in as much as possible today. So we're going to be shooting everywhere from centre court to the outer courts, taking in a lot of, I suppose, what Wimbledon is.
So is this trailer then, this will only be shown in cinemas, and is it just the UK or worldwide?
For the moment, I believe it's scheduled just to be in cinemas in the UK. Still up in the air slightly because Sony are working with Supervision, who are their theatrical distributors, working on where else it can be shown. We are expecting a lot of people are going to want to get their hands on this just because it is Wimbledon. And I suppose in Europe it's going to be probably the biggest ever event in 3D.
This is Tom from Can Communicate, who's one of the most experienced stereographers, and he is currently involved with this 3D shoot of a Wimbledon 3D promo. I'm interested to know how you're monitoring this. I noticed you've got anaglyph glasses. Is that industry standard, or why would it not be passive?
There's so many different ways that you can look at this. In the field, the technology is there to look at it in polarized, it's there to look at it in shuttered, it's there to look at it in anaglyph. When it actually comes down to it, you really want to be looking at 2 separate images. And really, when you know what you're doing, you don't even need to really put the glasses on. You should be just looking as to how those 2 images line up with each other and where they separate and converge. And if you use anaglyph to look at the 2 different images, you get one image that's red and one image that's green, which is a lot easier to see the differences in the images than if it was polarized and both the images were exactly the same color. It's much more difficult to see where the separation is, the verticals, the horizontals, all that kind of stuff. And if it's anaglyph and it's green and red, you can very clearly see what one image looks like, the size of it, the angle of it, compared to the other image.
When you're doing a shoot like this for this promo, how long is it taking? Is it very time consuming doing all the alignment and the axis adjustments, or if you nailed that now, are you pretty efficient at making all these changes?
I think the way it's developed over the last few years, it's really come on, and every time you come back to it, something new has changed, something new has got better, and things that you used to spend hours on, now you're spending minutes on. But in 3D, the most important thing by far is the alignment of the shot and getting the right 3D. There's so many different ways that you can do 3D, and really there is a right way and there is a wrong way. People's views on that are as much as what type of wine do you like. But as far as I'm concerned, the majority of the time it's a window on the world, which means that everything goes into the screen and you look at it like you're looking through a window. Very rarely things come out, and they're very specific about what comes out.
Well, I mean, Can are the production company that, on behalf of Sony, who are the official 3D partner of Wimbledon, and so when you put all that together, we're the production company that's producing the 3D broadcast for Wimbledon. There are 5 camera positions with a 6th lock-off beauty camera position. We have a traditional camera 1, which will be sort of behind the silver lighting fence at the moment, much lower than a normal BBC or normal 2D camera 1 position. We have cameras 2 and 3, which are under negotiation at the moment because that's a very tight area in the photographer's pit.
Right.
But they will be in the photographer's pit. Hopefully, we're hoping just to the baseline side of the service judge. Mm-hmm. So this on this court, this side of the judge, and then we have camera 4, which is we're testing today at some point in that little room up there.
Okay.
And then camera 5 is on a pedestal at the end of the rain cover machine. So those are the 5 cameras. I mean, obviously there is, the 2D side of Wimbledon is tight on broadcast space. Okay. Every event like this is, there's a massive demand for photographers and for extra television positions, etc., etc. So squeezing in 5 3D cameras is no mean feat for Wimbledon itself. I mean, if you took the World Cup as a benchmark, from when 3D became a real, genuine product, seen globally and seen as a possibility globally. If you took the World Cup as a benchmark, where we are from 2010. June 2010 to where we are now, it's a quantum change. There's so much more. There's so many new little bits of equipment that are making everything that much easier. And there's been advancements in the Sony MPE 200 box. There's been advancements in rigs and cameras and controls and software upgrades, and all of it put together makes it just a whole much more through the process.
It's the Fred Parry scene now, and this is one of the very few shots that they're going to have something coming out of the screen, because it's just the one hand, and there'll be no, it won't be breaking any, it won't be edge violating, which is what they call it in the industry, if it's cutting out the screen. Interested, I just heard Tom there talking about the fact that because it's a mirror rig, one camera has a slightly darker image than the other camera, and obviously that creates issues because you're looking for identical shots in each frame. He was talking about reducing one lens by a few f-stops, reducing exposure to try and match the colour difference. So I'm going to see if I can get a few words off him about that, whether it's best to do that in post-production or on set like this.
Yeah, it's difficult to work out.
Okay.
Every rig you come to has a different mirror. The mirror is essentially like what you'd have on an auto cue. For the person reading the auto cue, he's seeing a reflection of the computer screen which has the writing on it, but the camera sees through the back of that. It's one-way glass essentially, but it feels like it has a mirrored surface. Now obviously it's one-way glass, it's dark, so the camera that reflects off the mirror, the light level on it kind of stays pretty much the same, but the one that has to shoot through the back of the glass, basically it's slightly darker, so you have to try and compensate on the cameras and work out. Now every mirror you use on every rig, the composition of the mirror and the type of ND and everything are all very slightly different, and it makes the colours between the cameras very different. The amount of light loss is slightly different, and also the mirror is incredibly important, because even very, very slight distortions in the mirror, that way, or even a distortion actually within the mirror where it's very slightly twisted, you can really see that, and it really affects the way the shot looks. Yeah.
And so you just suggest exposure, try and match?
You try and match it up as much as possible. We were just discussing this, whether we think it's better to in fact do it in camera, or whether in fact it's better just to accept the fact that they look very slightly different and then adjust the levels in post-production.
Right. All right. Okay, it's 12:05 now. They've finished the Fred Parry shot that they were we just showed you then. There's a slight issue now. The actor who's playing a tennis player, his shoes are too small, so somebody's going to trickyly try and get some Adidas shoes. It has to be Adidas. Little tip that I just discovered off Tom there, that's because it's not sunny at all, when there is sun involved, apparently it has a huge effect on the 3D, because you've got all the highlights and the shadows, which creates far more depth. And I asked them why there is no lighting on this particular shoot. It's all down to budget and time. This is still a relatively small shoot, this Wimbledon 3D promo. is Jackson Wardle now. Jackson's a rig technician on this Wimbledon 3D promo. How did you get involved being a rig technician then? Because that is surely quite a new role in this type of industry.
Well, I was actually a runner before Cannes, and then I'd done a feature before, like a really low budget feature, but it was 3D, and I somehow managed to be able to do some 3D on it because it was so low budget. And from that experience, Duncan Humphreys said basically gave me a job and said they're going to train me up, teach me stuff, and took me to the World Cup last year. So it was all sort of for the World Cup, and then they've kept me on since then. So yeah, so they just needed new people, because you say it's such a new role.
Right.
New people. Yeah.
So what's your sort of your official role? What would your typical day be, and if you're a rig technician? Because the other guy was sort of filming as such, holding the camera. So where do you fit into that role?
I make the rig work. I make basically allow it to shoot 3D. Otherwise, without me there, he'd be shooting 2 unaligned images, and it wouldn't work.
Okay, so you're involved with the very precise alignment of each image. And
yeah.
Making sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever been in a situation where one of the cameras goes down?
Yes.
And how on earth do you get around that?
Generally, you can't really shoot. You just have to find a way to get it back up and running.
Right.
But even more key to that is Genlock, which is the synchronisation of 2 cameras. Okay. And if that goes wrong, then you really are completely screwed. That just doesn't work.
When you say synchronisation, that's exactly what they're recording.
Yeah, so basically each image that they capture in the 25 per second is exactly the same.
Okay.
In terms of, so if I wave my hand, it would shoot, my hand would be like that in each frame, and it would be synced perfectly, whereas they're out of Genlock, they might be sort of like that. So it's all got to be perfect, otherwise your eyes sort of pick up on it and it looks slightly weird.
Strange.
That was very nice. Yeah. 1, 2, look back. Any off from that.
Well, that's one of the last shots of this Wimbledon 3D promo, courtesy of Can Communicator. I think you had a really enjoyable experience watching the video, as much as I've enjoyed being here. As soon as it's available to watch, I'll let you know, and I'll let you know how you can watch it online. And thanks for watching. I'll see you again soon.